I want to present what I could consider my big idea for today. So I'll start on slide 4. Let's start on slide 1. I keep these slides so that I don't forget something. Apke's third law of agile transformation. We had 2 before. If you want to go check the other shows, do it. The other 2 were published. This one is currently unpublished, though. I started writing a book. I think I talked about this before, called Apke's Laws of Agile Transformation, and then I got sidetracked and ended up writing Apke's Golden Rule of Agile, which is my most recent book. But the third law of agile transformation is this: the actual ability of someone to lead an agile transformation is inversely proportional to the number of certifications that they display prominently to the world. This is a bit tongue-in-cheek, but what I'm saying here is there's so many certifications in the world of agile. What do they really mean? What does this really tell me about a person and their ability to do things? And what I found is that actually the people who have fewer initials next to their name, I found to be better at leading transformations than those with a bunch of them. Why is this? Well, I think it's because certifications themselves in the world of agile don't really say a lot about the person's ability in the real world. And there's a reason for it. I grabbed a whole bunch of what I would consider the usual suspects of certifications. There's tons of them out there. And the reason that there's tons of certifications out there is certifications are easy to sell. And they make a lot of money. So here's some of the ones that exist. And I want you to look, each one of these certificates generally has 2 things. It has an exam that you have to sit for, and it has some kind of requirements. So I outlined them here. And the interesting thing is, if you look at the PMI ACP, and I'm not a proponent of the PMI ACP, I think they've got some ways to go still, at least since I've been familiar with them. But look at it. It's a 3-hour exam, and you have to have actual hours. So 2,000 hours of project management, 1,500 hours of agile, 21 contact hours of training. That's pretty rigorous. Unfortunately, I don't know if I necessarily agree with PMI and what they do, but that's rigorous. It tells me I have done something. I've put some time in it. The rest of them aren't as rigorous. And you can look at them. Some of them don't have any requirements at all, except for the exam. You have to pass the exam. The folks who took my Agile MBA class, which I taught to thousands of people worldwide over the years for free through a nonprofit called the Job Hackers, I think most of you are familiar with. I encourage people to take that because it was a more rigorous test than the CSM. And there was no training component. Some of these things, you look at the CSM, for example, you've got a 1-hour exam, which I used to joke anybody could pass, really. And you got 16 hours of training. Guess where they make their money? They're selling you 16 hours of training. The certification is just a way of selling their training, which is why I don't give certification for my training. It doesn't help me in marketing, but it helps me sleep at night. Because I don't want to certify somebody can do something that they can't do. All I can certify is, and we used to give certificates for the Agile MBA because folks wanted them. I can certify that you spent time in the classroom. That's all I can certify. And I think that's all a lot of these things can certify. And the problem is that people misinterpret this as somebody has certain skills, because there are certifications in the world where when you do them, it's a guarantee that you have certain skills. I don't think this is true in the world of Agile. And this is a problem. So this is one of the reasons for Apke's third law. The other thing that I want to say is, okay, people are saying, hey, okay, I get it. If certifications aren't the way, great, you told me the problem. I used to have a boss that said, don't bring me a problem without bringing me a solution. And I've always tried to take that to heart. So if certs aren't the way, how should you go about hiring Agile coaches, especially those who are involved in transformation? Because we all know, I think we do, that transformation is hard. As individuals, when we try to make changes, it's hard. And when you try to do it at large organizations, it's really, really hard. Here's what I think you all should be looking for. So those of you folks who are in HR, those of you folks who are hiring Agile coaches, take this to heart. I believe that the best way to determine who to hire is to find them in public. Go out to LinkedIn, find these people, because the best Agile coaches and the people who do the best job in Agile transformations are very public. And they don't usually have a lot of initials next to their name. I was very fortunate recently, and Steve was one of my teammates in this Agile coaching group that we put together recently, which is one of the reasons I have him here. I have a great deal of respect for Steve and the people that we hired. When I look at the people we hired, and I think if you ask any of them, and maybe I'll ask Steve when he comes on, one of the best group of coaches that any of us have been a part of, very few people had initials next to their name if you look them up on LinkedIn, because that's not what counts. The people who are very public are very passionate, very passionate. They post often to LinkedIn. That was the one thing that we all think we all had in common with this group, is we all posted to LinkedIn. We didn't always agree on LinkedIn, but we all posted to LinkedIn. These are people who write books, right? I joke about it in my class, but I'm passionate enough to write books. I've written 3 books. Why is that important? I don't think they're the best books in the world. They're out there because it's like the mountain I had to climb. I think the last book is pretty good. If you want to buy it, great. If not, fine. Send me a note. I'll send you a free one. They write blogs. They host and appear on podcasts. They do things like what we're doing here because they love talking about it. They love hanging out with other Agilists. So they have a history and very public stances on what they believe. Now, I put in just for my own thing, sometimes they even start nonprofits and teach over 4,000 people worldwide Agile. You see, I should have spell checked it, for free in their spare time. And I did that for 7 years. I'm not saying I'm the best at transformation. I'm saying I think I'm pretty good, but I have a history. Steve Ropa has a history. Find people's history. If you don't find it, you probably don't want to hire this person because they don't have the passion that it takes. They don't have the public stance of having to defend their views or even change their views in public. They just don't have it. If you don't agree with what they have to say, if you don't agree with what I have to say, don't hire me. But for God's sakes, look at what I have to say. Look at some kind of track record. Don't look at certifications. I don't have any. They've all lapsed. I'm not giving any more money to certifying bodies to tell me I can do something that I've been doing for years. If you agree with what these people have to say publicly, then maybe you'll hire them. These are the people you want to bring in and talk to. You want to find out about them. So we're going to find out a little bit about Steve Ropa here in a second. That's my big idea for the day, is don't play the certification game when you're hiring people. I'm not saying for the people out there, don't go get certs. I'm not saying don't display them. I'm saying if you're hiring people, don't rely on the certs. Rely on somebody's public history. It's going to be a much, much better representation of their capabilities than certifications will be.